Ever since I was little, I loved serving my community. It allowed me to become closer to the people that were shaping my life and really give back to them. And so, it was my utmost honor to serve as the resident grammar police. You know, every little girl's dream. Once I learned the difference between lay and lie, there was no stopping me. I'm basically a walking, talking autocorrect with no mute button. Even as I'm entering the professional world, having only caught glimpses of it as a student, my penchant for punctuation has thrived. You know, I'm that pretentious texter who always punctuates the end of my sentence with a period. While punctuation marks like the period, the comma, the question mark are so commonplace in our language today, their origins are actually quite mysterious. But I've always been fascinated by one in particular, the exclamation mark. So the exclamation mark was first introduced into English printing in the 15th century and was known as the sign of admiration to show emphasis. But as language and its precision has grown increasingly inescapable in our society, I found that the meaning of the exclamation mark has changed. One means interested or displeased. Two is alerting you to something, be it good or bad. Three either means very excited or very angry. And anything more than that is reserved for parents when you don't pick up their call. But the point is, you can't really tell what the exclamation mark means without tone or social cues. So in email, letters, even text messages, the exclamation mark has transformed from simply a punctuation mark to a sort of punctuation cue of niceness. Now, I didn't recognize the exclamation mark's transformation until last year, when the pandemic began. With in-person communication paused, we turned to email, to messages, even the archaic letter writing. Now, I found myself staring down the barrel of, let's say, 20, 30 emails a day. Now, that's a lot for me, especially because I choose my words carefully. So on average, I'm spending 15 minutes crafting an email like it's to Jesus himself. But my first issue isn't my choice of words, but more so my choice of punctuation. You see, I'm in an eternal battle with myself deciding where to put exclamation marks. You know, I'll rewrite this same email about 10 times with only that changed. Should I put it at the front of the email to start off enthusiastic? Or maybe in the middle, so it seems composed but friendly? But if I put a bunch at the end, I'm just gonna come off as the Energizer Bunny. You see my problem? I became so anxious about selecting where to put my exclamation mark because there's no other way to seem nice over professional email. And trust me, I want to come across as nice. The problem is, I feel like I won't always be taken seriously or even responded to if I don't come across as eager, excited, and enthusiastic. In emails with a male peer, my emails were the one overflowing with exclamation marks and phrases like, sorry for taking up your time, and thank you for making this correction. In all honesty, I was pressured to use the exclamation mark, to always come across as eager, ready to help, and grateful. Like that's the state a professional woman should constantly be in. In all truth, email correspondence was taking pieces of me. The woman that you envisioned over email was no longer reflective of my identity. I struggled to define what I was feeling, what was pressuring me to act this way. But it turns out we've already got a name for it, internalized sexism. For me, internalized sexism is that I always have to appear grateful, ready to help, and appreciative. In all social situations, not just over email. I've realized that as a woman, I've donned this personality of constant gratitude because I'm afraid that I won't be seen as capable without it. I worry that I won't be taken seriously if I'm not accommodating. I worry about taking up space in somebody's inbox, although I have as much of a right to be there as anyone else. I worry about being perceived as cold. And come to think of it, I have never sent an email without the exclamation mark in it. I have never even written a thank you that wasn't followed by the exclamation mark. But take it from me, All of this worry and accommodation is, quite frankly, exhausting. I just cannot soften myself for the comfort of others. But punctuation, to me, is just a representative of all the other language that hinders my communication. I've probably heard about 1,000 times by now that I'm doing email wrong. I need to be more friendly in my emails. I should write more confidently. I need to be more professional. Professional. Quite literally the most elusive word to define. As the old wives' tale goes, women email differently than men. We're more personable and less persuasive. We apologize more, qualifying statements with I think and I feel, and use permission words like just. I think this would be a good idea. Sorry, I'm just checking in on your progress. I feel like this isn't the best course of action. But notice how, when I take out the permission words, I have a sentence that reads much differently than before. This would be a good idea. I am checking in on your progress. This isn't the best course of action. I end up with a sentence that is concretely assertive. And for some, it might be a turn off. But because you've heard me say these sentences, you are aware of my tone. This isn't the best course of action is non-confrontational when said out loud. But unfortunately, we lose that benefit over email. You can't be aware of my tone because you can't hear me talk. And if you could, I would be worried. And so, humans do what we're best at, assume. We fall back on cliches and throw out every #woke post we've ever tweeted. So when we encounter these emails lacking in punctuation cues, like the exclamation point, we jump to conclusions and rely on implicit bias to inform tone. I mean, even in your profession, you've probably noticed this. You understand how much time and emotional energy is swept up into responses just to save yourself from an untrue characterization that may become a lasting impression. At the rate we're going, the exclamation mark is basically just corporate self-sabotage for anyone looking to climb up the ladder. Even if it's only a quick one-line email, multiply that by 50 and you can kiss your afternoon goodbye. In my struggle with sexist emails, I was searching for a scapegoat, someone to blame for upholding the patriarchy that walked all over me. So I automatically jumped to, if the exclamation mark hurts women, then it must benefit men, right? Yes, it's true that some men do benefit from patriarchy, but not all of them do. Sexism hurts men just as much as it does women. If the exclamation point is an indication of a woman's accommodation and positive professional capability, then the same punctuation mark is seen as a sign of weakness in men, for writing like women. When men use emoticons or exclamation points, they are seen as feminine and therefore less competent. So email etiquette is a double-edged sword. Just as I'm hyper-aware of how I come across over email, men are just as conscious of how their language impacts their professional success. So, who should we really be blaming for this? It's not a who, it's a what. The patriarchy. They've dictated that all men are assertive, competitive, and persuasive, whereas all women are intuitive, empathetic, and kind. So, like any bright-eyed young student, I conformed. I conformed to ensure survival in a system stacked against me. So I peppered in those exclamation marks, thanked profusely, and apologized to the point where I nearly sold my soul to some stranger on the internet. The underlying objective of sexism is to enforce the status quo. So the way that we can dismantle the patriarchy, even in the smallest ways, quite literally, is to be conscious of our punctuation and our language. We have to understand how by adhering to sexist email etiquette, we uphold it. I've stopped using the exclamation mark, but that's an oversimplification. I've just been more conscious of where I placed it. I want to be genuine and purposeful with them. Anytime I feel pressure to place it, I ditch it and send the email before my palms get sweaty with worry. I use my thank yous sparingly and purposefully. When we leave thank yous and I hope you're wells in all of our emails, we devalue those words. We water down their true meaning to email courtesy. So when we truly want to inquire after someone, we're left searching for the right words because all the right words have become commonplace. Taking a step back, however, in no way am I calling for the end of exclamation marks. Radical, yes, but fair, not so much. The fact of the matter is, the exclamation mark in and of itself is not problematic. The way that we as humans have gendered it is. As our world becomes more and more digitalized and email becomes more favorable to in-person communication, our language is subject to heavy scrutiny. We have to understand the implications of our language, and more importantly, our punctuation, because they speak volumes over mediums that lack a voice. And honestly, take it from my experience, it is liberating not to care about what some dude on the other side of the screen thinks of you. Sexism in the workplace manifests itself in so many little ways. The clothes that we wear, the words that we choose in our meetings, and even the punctuation that we close our emails with. So let's make email more female friendly. Thank you.